Hare Krishna.
Are we in the main room?
I can see Prabhuji's thing there.
Yeah, okay.
People are just joining in, I think. Hare Krishna, Lalita Mataji, how are you doing? Hope you're fine. Lalita Mataji? She can't hear us. Okay. She was unwell. She was down with COVID. Hare Krishna. There's silence, no?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Mataji.
I'm just good. I just woke up because
Your voice is a little hoarse, na?
Because I just got up.
I
was completing one of that questions, what you told me, finish it off. So I was doing till late last night, like till 1 o'clock.
Oh,
so I got up late.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. But
you're okay.
Room is allotted to me. Yeah.
I think Mataji. I don't know. We have all joined back actually. We finished a short discussion and we came back.
And I just got up, I put it on, I went and brushed and came.
No problem. You're well, that's important. You were unwell, so now you're well. That's important.
Yeah, I'm much okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Hey, don't thank me. I think people are joining in. Prabhuji Akano.
He must be busy with that tour arrangements.
Regular car, mute la potter car.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, your background is looking different. Where are you? Pran Prabhu?
I am in the temple office. Looks like British colony.
I know, hard wooded.
We have the Gaur Purnima drama practice ongoing.
Oh, how sweet. You're participating, Prabhuji?
Yes, ma'am.
How sweet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you are in ISKCON Singapore?
Yes, Prabhu. Adish Prabhu. So we have many devotees who have come to the main room. So Prabhuji, shall we start with the group-wise summary?
He's not there, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Start.
Okay, fine. And also side note, if any devotee can confirm that the live streaming is okay now, Neetu Mataji or any devotee can please confirm.
Yes, Prabhuji, it is on.
Okay, fine.
Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna. So we start with group-wise summary of this discussion. So probably we will cover few groups. We'll start with room number 1, which is Adish Prabhu, Indira Mataji, Mamta Mataji, Vani Mataji, and Vivek Sharma Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yeah, so in our group, we discussed about the question and we came to the conclusion that the universal form is it's a huge form, and it's very fearsome to look, whereas the Chaturbhuja form and the two-handed form of the Lord is very beautiful and it's very sweet form. And the Lord is he's everything originates from the Lord. As we know that Brahmaji originated from the expansion of the Lord, Shri Garbhoda Shaika Vishnu, and then Brahmaji is a secondary creator. He created everything. He created the universe on the. He created the life forms, and he was created. He was born from Garbhoda Shaika Vishnu. So Krishna, he is the primary creator, and everything originates from him. all the universes originated from his second expansion, that is Shri Garbhodaya Vishnuji. So everything originates from him, and hence he's the original personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adish Prabhu. Any devotee from group number 2, which is Narasa Reddy Prabhu, Radhika Mataji, Sanjukta Mataji, Madhura Mataji, and Suganya Mataji.
Madhura Mataji will be presenting from our group. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Not
Krishna.
sure, but I'll try. Yeah. So in this, even though Arjuna has already seen entire Virat Rupa, which was actually not pleasing for him because he could not relate Krishna in that form. So he definitely wants Krishna to be in the Sakhya Rasa form, or you can say 400. Now he's asking for 400 form, which is Narayana form. And he wants to, like Krishna was born in that form only from Devaki's womb. He came in 400 form with Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. Even Devaki was not appreciating that. She wanted Krishna to come in the small baby form so that they can relate. Even we want to see Krishna only in Shyama Sundar form. So, and he was longing to see Krishna in that form. So he requested, and even all the Shastras also saying in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam also it has been said, Hitacham Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishna to Bhagavan Swayam Indradi Vakulam Lokam Vridhanti Yuge Yuge. So one who knows Krishna becomes free at once. So maybe Arjuna wants to see only that form so that he could relate.
Thank you very much.
And even it is not that Arjuna was not being a Kshatriya, definitely he should not be fearful. But still he got fearful to see that Virat form, and he wants only Krishna to be in that form. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So other groups we will hear from you in the next group discussion activity. Prabhuji, you want to add anything on this particular?
I'm very happy to see Mataji. Madhura Mataji knows the shlok. Ete chamsa kala pamsa.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Not that clear, but trying, Prabhuji. And Radhika Mataji was really good in explaining. It's nice. Thank you.
Chalo.
Prabhuji, how do you link it with the preaching aspect that was asked in the question? The question says, group establish Krishna as the original personality of Godhead, which is what everyone said, with reference to BG 11.46, wherein Krishna displays his Chaturbhuja, Shankha Chakra Gada Haste form to Arjuna. The preaching application, how do we kind of bring this in the preaching aspect?
And how do we no, this is preaching means this is our main work, no? So the uniqueness of Krishna is very unique to our movement. If you say our movement stands apart from even Shri Vaishnavas or from Madhuvas, that they say Hari Sarvottam, but they're not even Madhuvas. Hari, which referring to 400 or 200, they are not able to say that. Okay, so this is the uniqueness of our sampradaya, this from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Krishna's, even Prabhupada therefore said, Krishna, the supreme personality of God. Krishna's position as a supreme personality is up here. So this is definitely our work of preaching, the big work we have. And like that's why I was saying, Madhura Shetty, I was very happy she knows the shloka. Ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. At that point, actually, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami spends Prabhupada spends long purport clarifying how he is establishing by just that verse that Krishna is the Supreme Personality.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
He said very nice word. Adesh was saying sweet, and Bhagavad Gita says Saumya, Saumya Rupa. Chalo.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So how do you say preaching? Anything you want to add as a preaching application? Because the way they have said it's more of an understanding. So that is what Janaki Mataji is pointing out.
In our group we discussed, Prabhuji, that Srimad Bhagavatam gives us the various forms of the Lord which he took for different purposes. Yeah. the Vyasa form was for knowledge, the Narada form was for singing and for spreading the devotional knowledge. So, irrespective of whether the Lord takes, his incarnation for a particular purpose, or the Krishna avatar, which he took from his, which is his own internal energy, he's just one, irrespective of whether he was Buddha or whether he was, the various other avatars that I just said. He is one. There's nobody else.
There is a list in either you read teachings of Lord Chaitanya or Chaitanya Charitamrita. That is called Swayam Rupa. There is a big list of different kind of forms. Some other day we will do that.
Sure.
Different kind. But the most attractive and highest form is this Krishna in the 16-year-old boy with Radharani standing. That's the highest. In fact, it manifests all the rasas. So just like a childhood form of the Lord, then Madhurya rasa is not manifest. Right. But in the youthful form, therefore you see in ISKCON we worship Krishna in the youthful form, free. And Krishna that, like PU college.
Yes.
I travel, I teach in all the colleges, at all the age groups. And they look most cutest at that age when the boys just before they have the mustache. And Krishna keeps himself at that.
Yeah.
At that. You're not seeing Krishna with mustache or anything ever. He keeps himself at that form, just pre-youth, in our terms. He is in. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we start with today's section, which is text 47 to text 55, the last section of this particular chapter, where pure devotional service has been mentioned as a prerequisite to see any form of Krishna. For universal form, we have already seen that in our last discussion, how one needs to have a divine vision. Only then we can see the universal, one can see the universal form. So here the pure devotional service has been mentioned as a prerequisite to see any form, be it universal form, four-handed Narayan form, or specifically the Shama Sundar Krishna form. So linked to the previous section, in response to Arjuna's prayers, where we saw the conclusion of the Arjuna's prayer, Arjuna is requesting Krishna to transform himself from the universal form into the four-handed form. And because he's very afraid, he's very frightened. So Krishna will now comfort Arjun by withdrawing his ghastly universal form and revealing his pleasant four-handed and two-handed forms. He will also describe bhakti as the supreme process to see any forms of Krishna. And practical application of this section, to understand the most intimate feature of the absolute truth is two-handed Shama Sundar form of Lord Krishna. And this form is only known through the devotional service, pure devotional service. So we move to text number 47. Prabhuji, anything on the...
No, please continue.
Okay. Okay. Text 47. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
You can share, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Screen.
Okay. Oh, sorry, Prabhuji. I didn't share the screen. Yeah. Text 47. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Maya prasannena tavarjunedam rupam param darshitam atma yoga tejo mayam vishvam anantam adyam yanme tvat annena drushta purvam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjun, happily have I shown you by my internal potency this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence." So Krishna is saying that this particular form that is shown to Arjuna, universal form, has been shown by Lord Krishna first time. And although other personalities have been shown the universal form before, like Duryodhana and all, those forms were not exactly the one what Arjuna was shown. And Krishna is saying, by my internal potency, because that universal form is inconceivable by human speculation, and happily by my desire, because no one has ever seen this before. As Srila Prabhupada explained in the last section we were reading, We cannot force Krishna to appear to reveal. Only when he reveals himself by his causeless mercy can the devotees see when he awards the divine vision. So all the disciplic devotees of the Lord would see the form, universal form, which was shown to Arjun by Krishna's mercy. Example, other devotees in the planets in the outer space and in the heavenly planets, and forms shown to Duryodhan were different from this universal form that was shown to Arjun. Yes, Prabhuji.
Continue.
Okay. Text 48. Only devotees can have divine vision to see the universal form. Text 48. Na veda yagya dhyatyaner na dane na cha kriyabhir na tapobhir ugray evam rupa shakya aham duloke drashtum tvat annena kuru pravira. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form in the material world. So here Krishna is giving different qualifications which he is saying are not sufficient to see for sure the universal form of his. And who can see this universal form? Those who have got the divine vision, namely the godly souls. And who is a godly person? Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, godly person is the one who has status of divinity as a demigod. Those who are devotees of Lord Vishnu are the demigods. Vishnu, Bhakta, Smrito, Daivaha. Only devotees can have such divinity. And other qualifications that are listed by Lord Krishna, he is saying, are insufficient. They are not sufficient to see the universal form by methods like charity, penance, and study of the Vedas, for which the word used by Krishna is Veda Yagya Dhyayanai, Vedic study and sacrificial regulations. Just by doing this, one cannot qualify oneself to have the divine vision to see the form of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, what do the study of the Vedas include? It includes 4 Vedas, 18 Puranas, the Upanishads, and the Vedanta Sutras. And sutras like Kalpa Sutra, Mimamsa Sutra for studying the method of sacrifice, pious activities including the Agnihotra sacrifice and prescribed duties for different castes, Tapasya, which is the voluntary acceptance of bodily pains for achieving higher goal in life, charity to suitable party which is engaged in transcendental loving service of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So all these qualifications don't necessarily qualify one to have the darshan of the universal form. And here even the impersonalists who imagine seeing the universal form, it is explained in Bhagavad Gita that they are also unable to see, because as per Bhagavad Gita, they are not the devotees. Only the transcendentalists who understand personal form of Krishna are considered the devotees. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So seeing the Lord is a privilege only of a devotee. People following Karma Yoga may reach maybe maximum till Swarga, and Jnana Yoga maybe they reach till impersonal Brahman, similar for Ashtanga Yogis. But only a Bhakta is able to penetrate into the presence of the Lord. Krishna is there everywhere, but we are not able to penetrate in his presence. You know, his presence doesn't manifest. He's there in the heart itself, unless we have developed pure devotion, premanjana, you know, and no other tricks will work. You know, we cram all the Vedas, study all the Shastras, like the Yagnik Brahmanas. We know all the sutras. Our pious activities, like in Riga, we do all the kind of pious activities. We do tapasya like Durvasa Muni, but still we cannot get charity You can get so many examples of people who are doing all. The Jarasandha was very charitable, but that doesn't qualify somebody to see the beautiful form of the Lord. You know? So there is no other equation than bhakti. So actually Bhagavad Gita is teaching only bhakti, and as a supermost occupation, and all other activities, unless they lead to bhakti, they will not be able to help us see the presence of the Lord.
Thank you. Only the devotees can have the divine vision to see the universal form. So Srila Prabhupada here writes that at least in contrast to the godly persons, they cannot have such divinity because they do not believe in Vishnu, or even if they do believe, they consider the impersonal aspect of Krishna to be the supreme without acknowledging the personal aspect. So devotees, they do not want to see the universal form, although they are qualified to see. So other than devotees, nobody else is qualified, but devotees who are qualified, they are not much interested in seeing this universal form because there is no reciprocation. So practical application of this, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, although Bhagavad Gita is considered the preliminary study of the science of God, still it is so perfect that it enables one to distinguish what is what. The followers of a pseudo-incarnation may say that they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form, but that is unacceptable because it is clearly stated here that unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of God. So one first of all has to become a pure devotee of Krishna. Then he can claim that he can show the universal form of what he has seen. A devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers of false incarnations. Yes.
So this pseudo incarnation is a big thing, a big business. There was one person who said, I'm incarnation of God and I'm going to show you Vishwarupa tomorrow. So, but you have to pay a ticket of 10,000 rupees. So he was very popular, don't know to name him. And there were thousands of people, they paid crores of rupees to see from their so-called God, Vishwarupa. And then the next day they all waited in a huge crowd. And then he came. He said, no, because there is clouds in the sky today, I can't show you. And he never returned the money. You know, such a joke. Anything people accept, because mostly people don't even demand. And if you even cite a little argument or reason, they get very angry and upset. So there's cheater in the cheated business. But if somebody is very sincere, we'll understand what is Vishwarupa, why it is needed.
Prabhuji, there is one question here by Rohini Mataji. In 11:22, it is said Asuras also saw the universal form. So does this mean that only the Asuras who were like born in a demoniac families but who were devotees and who were granted the divine vision saw this form and not all the Asuras?
I do not know how much they saw. The more of are running away. Asuras are running away. Just like it doesn't say that they are offering prayers or they are looking at it. It doesn't say like that. It says they are running away. Running away means maybe that they know there is a display of power and sound, but not that seeing the form, as far as I can understand. The Asuras are running away because there is a huge power manifestation. So definitely only thing works with Asuras is, it's a stick. So, just imagine they have the bombing going in Ukraine. Now, you may not have seen the bomb, but, the bombing has frightened you and you are hiding.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, one question. Here, Lord Shri Krishna says that that Arjuna is the first person who saw the Vishwarup. Only he could see the Vishwarup. Then could you please explain the difference between the Vishwarup that Lord Shri Krishna showed to Duryodhana when they tried to?
That is mini. That is mini. This is full.
Okay,
That is small. Even to Mother Yashoda, he has seen. That is smaller one. This is full display. Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
That was a trailer. Both of them were trailers. This is full movie.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yesterday in our weekly meeting discussion, there was another question which were not clear. Pardon our ignorance, but Rama and Rama was an expansion of Vishnu form. So could Rama show the universal form, or it was only Krishna who could actually show it?
No, Rama and Krishna is the same personality. The same personality. Now, in the pastime of Rama, I don't think any one of us is expert here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did show Vishwarupa. Okay?
Yes, that we all know, but there was a question was, could Rama have shown it or not?
Well, he's the same person, no? Why he cannot show? There is no difference between Krishna and Rama. See, we have to know by so the kind of activities, building a bridge across the ocean, killing such a ferocious demon, even Devatas were scared of him. Ravana, Hana, there were enough activities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So there is no could, definitely he is same as Krishna, no? There is no person, though there is no difficulty for him. And if you have any expert in Rama Leela, he will talk about where he has shown extraordinary power many times.
Shall we proceed, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Next, text 49. Here, Arjuna is praying to Krishna. Actually, not Arjuna. Based on Arjuna's prayer, Krishna is agreeing to withdraw the universal form and revert to his four-handed form and then two-handed form. Mate vyathama cha vimura bhavo društva rupam ghoram idrunmamedam vyapeta viprita mana punastvam tat eva me rupam idam prapashya. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. So here Krishna is telling Arjun that he has been perturbed because of seeing the universal form. So he is wanting to remove that disturbance to Arjuna's mind. And universal form, one of the reasons Srila Prabhupada also mentions was to show the outcome of the battle of Kurukshetra, where Arjuna saw even the great personalities like Bhishma and Drona being annihilated by the universal form. And Srila Prabhupada explains because they didn't act, they remained inactive during the disrobing of the Draupadi. So they were destined to be killed because of that inactivity. So also, this was shown to Arjun because devotees are always peaceful and cannot perform such horrible action. So initially, Arjuna was very reluctant to kill these respectable elders. And so Srila Prabhupada explains this universal form through which Krishna showed the annihilation of these personalities was also one of the reasons to inspire Arjun to continue to fight and kill these personalities who were superior. And why are devotees not interested in the universal form? Because it does not allow them to reciprocate the loving feelings. A devotee either wants to offer respectful, worshipful feelings with the four-handed form of the Lord, or reciprocate in loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the two-handed Shama Sundar form. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, so suppose you want to dress the Lord, bathe the Lord, feed the Lord, you cannot do with the universal form. You have to do with the two-handed form of the Lord. Yes, Prabhuji, continue.
Okay. Text 50. Sanjaya Uvacha Iti Arjunam Vasudevastatoktva Swakam Rupam Darshayam Asabhuyaha Ashvasayam Asachabhitam Enam Bhutva Punah Saumya Vapur Mahatma. So here Krishna is revealing his transcendental four-arm form and then the two-handed form to Arjuna. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-arm form, and at last he showed his two-arm form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, similar change of forms Krishna had also exhibited when he appeared in the womb of Devaki. Just before his appearance, he appeared in the four-handed Narayan form, and then he appeared in, based on the request by Vasudev and Devaki, he transformed his four-handed form into the two-handed form like a human child. And then he moved to Vasudev's heart, from Vasudev's heart to Devaki's heart, and then to Devaki's womb. So Krishna had revealed the transformation through all these forms earlier as well. And Krishna's two-armed form is referred to in this verse by Sanjaya as Saumya Vapuhu, which Srila Prabhupada translates as the beautiful form. And he explains in the purport that this word Saumya Vapu indicates a very beautiful form. Krishna's form is the most beautiful form as the Shama Sundar Krishna. And who can see this form? To explain this, Srila Prabhupada quotes from the Brahma Samhita, text 538. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Rudayeshu Vilokayanti. Only those whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see this beautiful form. And Krishna shows this form because he knows Arjuna's ultimate interest is not even in the four-handed form. So he moved first to four-handed form and then to two-handed Shama Sundar form. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Saumya Vapuhu, very beautiful. The same word, sweet form. Krishna revealed Prema Anjana Chorita. This Anjana is not in the physical eyes necessarily. It is in the spiritual eyes. Okay. So physical eyes, a lot of people can create tears. Even actors can create tears. So, but it comes from the core of the heart. Then that is what is referred to here. Okay. So Arjuna ultimately wants to see the 200 form. Yes, Prabhuji. Even the gopis saw the 400 form. This discussion was there between Krishna and Venkata Bhatta, Lord Chaitanya and Venkata Bhatta. He says that why is Lakshmi always trying to enter the Ras Leela and he's not allowed to? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted that verse and he could not answer. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, then why is it that gopis are not interested in the 400 form? He quoted again from Ras Leela. So Venkata Bhatta got stuck. He was a Shiva Vaishnava. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was encouraging him to come to now Radha Krishna worship from Lakshmi Narayan worship. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after explanation, he accepted. So this is very advanced. That the gopis had Krishna dissipated in the Ras Leela. Then he came as a 400 form, but the gopis were not interested. They just paid obeisance, Om Namo Narayana, and walked away. But when Lakshmi, who is in touch with the 400 form of the Lord, is always doing tapasya to enter the Ras Leela, and she is not allowed. So that two significant instances shows that actually 200 form of the Lord is the highest form of the Lord.
Prabhuji, there is one question by Reena Mataji. Is there any reason to be understood for Arjun asking to see Krishna's four-handed form? So, if I recollect, in our last discussion in the one purport, Srila Prabhupada did mention the point that Arjuna wanted to establish the supremacy of the Lord before reverting to the two-handed form, but you can show more.
Okay, now any other reason? Discuss. Anybody would like to say, or why did Arjuna not just have, why he had 400 in between? He could have just gone for 200. Why did he have a specific desire to see the 400 form of the Lord? I see, very Vishwarupa was requested by Arjuna to glorify the Lord. He had no desire to see Vishwarupa. That is for the public. So he can also requested, chalo wo bhi dikha do Krishna, to glorify his Krishna more and more. What do you say? Vishnurupa, whether its purpose was to glorify the Lord. Yes, Ankit Negi. Prabhuji, give
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Ah.
I think he wants to prove that the Narayan is the source of, like Bhishma says in Srimad Bhagavatam, that Eshave Bhagavan Sakshat Adyo Narayan Puman. Krishna is even a source of Narayan. And similarly, it is stated in Brahma Samhita that Vishnur Mahanasa Iha Yasya Kala Vishesho. So even Mahavishnu is also an expansion of Krishna.
So many verses you have crammed.
That's what he wants to prove, I think. Prabhuji.
Wonderful, huh?
Serious.
Wonderful. Yes, continue, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Reena Mataji, is this all right? Any other thing you want to ask on this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We move to text 51. Arjuna Uvacha Drushvedam Manusham Rupam Tava Saumyam Janardana Idanim Asmi Samrutta Sacheta Prakritim Gataha. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "O Janardhan, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in my mind, and I am restored to my original nature." So here Arjuna is mentioned as his mind is pacified and back to composed, restored nature after seeing Krishna's Shamasundar form. Manusham Rupam. This word indicates that this form of Krishna, Shamasundar form, is just like ordinary human-like. And this verse refutes the following arguments that Krishna is an ordinary person, because if that was the case, then it is an impersonal Brahman within Krishna who is speaking. Like, this is the false argument. So if that was the case, then Krishna wouldn't be able to show all these forms. And refutation for this argument is to think in that particular way is greatest injustice. How can an ordinary human show the universal form and again the four-handed form? So this particular Leela, this particular pastime refutes this misconception. And analogy Srila Prabhupada gives in the concluding part of the purport. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require the lamplight of foolish commentators. So before coming to this point, Srila Prabhupada mentions how some of the Mayavadi commentators, they tend to give various personal interpretations on it is not Krishna, but the impersonal feature within Krishna, who is the supreme and all. But Srila Prabhupada is saying that what Krishna is showing, what Krishna is speaking is very clear, black and white, as clear as the bright sun. So the lamplight is not needed to explain the presence of the sun. And this analogy is very, very important. We also have this mentioned in the Mayapur manual to discuss this analogy from the purport. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require the lamplight from foolish commentators to discuss on this. Yes, Prabhuji.
So there is a group activity now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, you give the time for the group activity. How much time?
10 minutes, Prabhuji. 5 minutes for discussion and 5 minutes for...
So what is the clarity? What is they have to do, supposed to do? And the
they have supposed to explain that how commentary by the non-devotee commentators is not needed at all to explain the verses from Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna has spoken them clear enough to have unambiguous meaning for them. Maybe you can explain a bit more.
This original verse, this lamplight is where connecting to the present. Which shloka it is talking about?
This is text 51, the last line of the purport, Prabhuji.
No, that's okay. But what is the verse it is referring to? 51?
51, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so look at 51 verse and come to the bring the conclusion. There is no need of interpretation here. It's very clear. Okay, yes. You want me to switch it on?
Yes, Prabhuji.
There are a lot of people unassigned. How many minutes remaining, Prabhuji?
We can start, Prabhuji.
You start.
Yes. So, we start with group number 3, which is Janaki Mataji, Lalita Mataji, Mangala Mataji, Tarini Mataji, Usha Mataji, and Vilas Vispute Prabhu.
Yeah. Usha Mataji is representing our group. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everybody. What we discussed in our group is that though Lord Krishna exhibits himself in the two-handed form, he should not be mistaken as an ordinary human being. He can appear in with as many hands and as many heads and faces as he wants to, but it's the foolish people who think just because he shows himself in the two-handed form that he's an ordinary person. But how can an ordinary person display his universal form and then a four-handed form and then take so many different forms? Yeah, so that is the refutation given to foolish people who think that he's an ordinary person. So the analogy over here is that the sun emanates so much of brightness and glory. There's so much of glory attached to the sun that a lamplight is nothing in front of the sun. Yeah, you don't need to show the sun to everybody using the lamplight. Yeah, so the sun has its own glory and nothing matches the sun.
Thank you, Mataji, especially the last statement that we don't need the lamplight to show the sun. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So, group 4, which is Guru Nishtha Mataji, Rajashri Mataji, Mannat Mataji, Nitu Mataji, Mathura Mataji, and Shubham Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Any one devotee volunteer from this group? I don't know whether they have come back, Prabhuji, to the main room yet.
I have closed it. They will be there
Okay.
in 20 seconds. They will be there.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Rajashri Mataji will summarize on behalf of the team.
Okay.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, ma'am.
In this 51 purport, we have come to understand that this universal form of Krishna has made him to become wondered and also frightening in a way. As a result, he wanted to become composed and he wanted to see the two-handed form of Krishna, which he had originally been seeing all the time, even before he could see the universal form. And seeing this universal form was far better for him. And just as the sunlight is essential for seeing all the things in a bright manner, these devotees are able to see Krishna in their heart as well as in their mind in a very perfect manner. And this universal form, which was very frightening, was seen by all of them. But this in this purport, that particular part is not required. And coming to the next verses part, it is given that the demigods wanted to see Krishna in this particular two-handed form, and it is very difficult for them to see this particular form, and they long to see him in this two-handed form forever. But since he is covered by his Yogamaya feature, that is why no one is in a position to see this particular form. And Krishna says to Arjuna, the form that you are seeing is very difficult to behold, because by reading the Vedas, by doing charity, by performing so many austerities, it is not possible to see unless you have perfect love for me. And the devotion is 100% is required in order to see me in this particular form. That is transcendental nature, That is Bhagwan feature. That's what I have understood, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Rajashri Mataji. And probably we can just have one more group present their understanding. So, second group number 5, which is Devadatta Krishna Prabhu, Anita Mataji, KK Mukherjee Prabhu, Madhu Sudan Balakrishnan Prabhu, Rohini Mataji, and Surekha Mataji. Any one devotee volunteer?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Madhusudan.
Hare Krishna Madhusudan Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
So from the purport, I took 3 main, like a keyword, Manusham Rupam, then Krishna can, a pure devotee is not confused. And third keyword is, they do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. These are the three keywords which caught immediately in my mind. So this purport clearly speaks that Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna to be an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form? A pure devotee is not at all confused by misguiding commentaries on Bhagavad Gita because he knows the reality. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are clear like sun. They do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madhusudan Prabhu. Murli Prabhuji, you had unmuted yourself. You want to say something? All right. Shall we proceed, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
So we go back. Text number 52 and 53. So this will cover together, which explain the rarity of seeing Krishna's two-handed Shama Sundar form and the glory of Krishna's personal form, Shama Sundar form, and prerequisite of seeing that form being the pure devotional service, bhakti. So text 52, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Sudurdarsham idam rupam drishtavan asi yanmama Deva api asya rupasya nityam darshana kankshinaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjun, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear." And text 53. Naham vedairna tapasa na daneni na danena na chejaya shakya evam vido drashtum drashtavan asi mam yatha. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. So here, Lord Krishna is explaining through these verses the rarity of seeing his two-handed form, and he's using the word Sudurdarsham, which means for the universal form. He had mentioned that it is very difficult to see by all these means of charity, penances, studying the Vedas and all. But Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, if one adds tinge of bhakti through all these activities, there is possibility of seeing the universal form, but the two-handed form of Krishna, which is more difficult even than the universal form to behold and to see, which is considered as this form is also mentioned as very, very dear through the word darshana kankshai. Nityam darshana kankshai. That means even the the personalities on the higher planetary system are always desiring to see this form, which is very dear. And this form cannot be studied, cannot be seen, understood by all these previous qualifications that were listed. This form can be understood only by the process of pure devotional service, bhakti. And universal form, while it can be seen by adding a tinge of bhakti to these activities, the two-handed Shama Sundar form cannot be seen just by these alone. Foolish people, they deride Krishna's form as ordinary. They may offer respect not to him, but to impersonal something within him. But Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, these are all nonsensical postures. And he quotes the famous verse from the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mam muda manushim tanam ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. So, darshanam, it is difficult to see the universal form, but to see the two-handed form of the Krishna is sududu darshanam. So, there is the difficult and extremely difficult. It's more difficult to reach the level of sincerity and bhakti to reach the two-handed form of the Lord. Because that two-handed form of the Lord, Krishna becomes so intimate, and unless we have a level of purity, as we discussed many times, even the Devatas could not handle, even Indra could not handle, Brahma could not handle. So definitely it requires much more advancement. Yes, Pran Chaitanya Prabhu, somebody has a question,
Sorry,
you can answer.
yes.
Yeah.
Shama Gopika Mataji has raised her hand. Yes, Mataji, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have one question here, because Krishna's two-handed form was seen by Duryodhana also. So means what do we mean here by not seeing means not understanding, is it?
That is fortune. When Krishna is present on earth and moving around, hardly anybody could recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Krishna was entering the arena in Mathura, very, very few people could actually appreciate. And it is very nice discussion in the Bhagavatam. Different people took him in a different way.
Okay.
Yes, so what do you say about this? Are you talking about just seeing two-handed form or appreciating the two-handed?
Yeah, means so actually
Pran
people
Chaitanya
do not
Prabhu,
recognize.
what is your comment?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my understanding is understanding the position of Lord Krishna. Like specifically the scenario, I remember Srila Prabhupada quotes the example of Duryodhana, that although Krishna was personally present before him, he could never realize his position. And also the example of the two thieves who were trying to take baby Nimai on their shoulder and running away. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that this is the misfortune, that they had the Supreme Lord right in their arms, but they could not recognize his position.
Okay. So similarly, Lord Brahma also, right, in the Brahma Vimohan Leela. Yeah. Okay.
So we have one more slide on these two verses, where in the later part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains three different processes for understanding the absolute truth. So first process Srila Prabhupada mentions by material calculation of the Supreme Lord. So in the purport he writes, for one who is using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher. But he is an ordinary man. And even though he was so powerful, he had to accept a material body. That is the conception of the material calculation people. Ultimately, these people think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he has assumed a personal feature which is attached to material nature. This is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. So through this method, the impersonalists, they try to limit the position of the Lord in a situation which is similar to their own, which is bound by the material body. They don't understand Krishna as the absolute truth, and even his body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. So that is the one way of understanding absolute truth, which is not complete. Then second method Srila Prabhupada mentions is the speculative calculation. Those who are in search of the knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjun, is more important than his personal form. According to such people, the personal form of the Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person. So even for these people, the conclusion is totally incorrect. They consider that because the human form is looking very simple, whereas the universal form is very fearsome and having so many features. So probably that's why the universal form is more important than his two-handed Shama Sundar form. And Srila Prabhupada explains, even to such persons, the personal form of the Lord, it remains imagination. They can't realize it. And ultimately their conclusion is impersonal as well. And the third process of understanding the absolute truth, Srila Prabhupada explains, is the transcendental process, where Srila Prabhupada quotes the reference to chapter number 4. But the transcendental process is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 4, which is the Tadvidi Pranipatena, verse 434. To hear about Krishna from authorities, that is the actual Vedic process, and those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. And then in the subsequent part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Yes, Prabhuji.
Materialistic calculation, speculative calculation, transcendental process. You want to add something? You had something in your mind?
Basically,
the general understanding, no, in society that God doesn't have. It's very difficult to even conceive. That's why Vishwarupa is needed for these people. They cannot conceive the Lord having transcendental form. Yes, Prabhuji, what you wanted to say?
No, Prabhuji, you please go ahead.
In society, that's what it is. Generally, even after we have the Gita 18 course, we used to do at the end one question. What do you say? Do you think God is a form or energy? And everybody will write energy after 18 days of course. Very few people will, maybe 10%, 20% will say he has a. So that's a, when you say proper saying, it's true. See, when we are now sitting here, now we are amongst the devotees and we feel they have some level of understanding. But actually, when you go to the society, it's different. And society we find totally different, that people do not so much to preach, actually, so much to preach. This misconception is all pervading. Yes, Prabhuji, you wanted to add something now?
No, Prabhuji. And regarding this verse that Srila Prabhupada is referring to, Prabhuji, it was just speculation. Is it the right verse he's referring to hear from the authorities by serving them and inquiring from them submissively?
Yeah, that is the process, no?
Yes,
Continuous Krishna consciousness, you have marked blue.
Yes, Prabhuji. So I personally found the words chosen by Srila Prabhupada very, very powerful. He mentions that those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear to such hearers. And the transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. So this is the complete process for understanding Krishna.
Yeah, repeated hearing. See, hearing, just reading Gita Bhagavatam, is not only academical, logical hearing, it is submissive hearing. Sometimes what happens is we see, I understood the main point of the chapter 11. No, that doesn't lead you to see. Just like chanting Hare Krishna. I chanted Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. No, you have to submissively hear. It's a spiritual vibration, Continuous Krishna consciousness. Yes. Spiritual eyes are opened by continuous submissive Shravana. Yeah, continue, Prabhuji.
Ankit, Prabhu, you wanted to say something? You have put a chat.
Hey, where are you? Your voice is cutting.
Your voice is breaking, Ankit, Prabhu.
Today, where are you? Yeah.
Yes. Network is today's power cut here, so network is not good.
Okay, Prabhuji.
It's very.
Yes.
Continue.
Yes. So Divya Rukmini Mataji, yes, believe even Prabhuji confirmed that is 434 Tad Vidhi Pranipatena. Srila Prabhupada is referring to that in the purport. So we proceed to text 54, which is the second last text of this chapter. But the last two texts have each purport of 5 pages each. So text 54. And Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya aham evam vidorjuna jnatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. One point I noted in the purport of the previous verse, which is text 53, as well as this verse translation, the word mystery is used by Prabhupada in the purport of 1153 and by Krishna in the translation of 1154. So as such, this understanding, this knowledge of Krishna is described as a mystery. Even in chapter number 4, we see this word being used by Krishna to say that this mystery of the transcendental science of Krishna is only revealed to those who are connected to him in pure devotional service. So only through this one can enter into the mysteries of my understanding, Krishna's understanding. So difficult to understand Krishna. Now here is a very long purport, so we'll see it through few slides, around 4 different slides, 5 slides. So Srila Prabhupada starts its purport by saying that it is very difficult to understand Krishna by speculative processes, saying that trying to understand absolute truth through the process of speculation is but a waste of time, or by study of the Vedas, or by mental or philosophical speculations. So that's why it is important to take guidance and training from a bona fide spiritual master. And again, there is a very powerful statement by Srila Prabhupada in the purport where he writes, for one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible even to begin to understand Krishna. The word tu, specifically used here in the verse, it indicates that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna than taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and inquiring from him, training from him. And then in order to stress this point, Srila Prabhupada quotes the famous verse from Shvetara Upanishad, where it is mentioned, Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite katita hi artha prakashante mahatmanaha. Translation: one who has unflinching devotion to the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master, in whom he has similar unflinching faith, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. So it's very, very important to take shelter of a genuine spiritual master, serve him and take guidance from him and train under him. That's what Srila Prabhupada is using the word personal training. And without such faith, without such surrender to the spiritual master, what to speak of understanding Krishna completely? One can't even begin one's understanding of Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
See, the word mystery has been used again and again, and this shows that this is beyond the domain of our perception. And we only have an access to the spiritual domain by the Guru Parampara. There is no other way. So otherwise, just the Prabhupada says, you may speculate, but you will only able to come to the conclusion that impersonalism. But the devotees have a privilege to Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavan, Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Payapak. By the mercy of Guru, he can have an access to the spiritual domain. Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. This Bija is the beginning of the spiritual domain. It is not accessible otherwise. You can know what is, God is not, Prabhupada says, but what it is, you cannot know unless you are bestowed mercy by Guru and Krishna. Devo Bhaktya. Therefore, only by bhakti it can be done. Yes, Prabhuji, continue.
And Prabhuji, just one point, we recently heard even Janaki Mataji, Sujata Mataji were part of the class, where it was quoted that once Srila Prabhupada asked the devotees, which is the most important verse in all the scriptures, and devotees were trying their hand, somebody saying Sarva Dharman Parityaja, somebody saying Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakta, and everything Srila Prabhupada said no. And then finally he quoted this verse to say that this is the most important verse, having an implicit faith in the spiritual master and in the scriptures.
Yes. Even in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that, that unless you accept, at least theoretically, that Krishna is Supreme Personality Godhead, there will not be any use in reading Gita. So we need to begin some level of submission, then the mercy flows.
Thank you. So we move to the next slide. So there will be 4 or 5 slides for this verse. Krishna can be revealed only by Ananya Bhakti. Then Srila Prabhupada explains who can understand Krishna. Those who, however, are experienced students of the Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literatures, like performing penances according to the principles, example, fasting on Janmashtami, on Ekadashi, giving charity to devotees of Krishna who are engaged in devotional service. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. And Srila Prabhupada explains the story of Lord Chaitanya, where he is glorified as the most munificent personality incarnation because he has given freely the love of God. And third aspect of Vedic regulative principles one can also follow to understand Krishna is the deity worship, which is especially meant for the beginners in devotional service. And Krishna is distinct from all his forms, and all forms come from Krishna. They originate from Krishna. Krishna's changing of the forms from universal form to four-handed form and then to the two-handed form. Srila Prabhupada calls this in the purport, two-handed form, as his natural form. So he is distinct from all these forms and he is the origin, the source of all these forms. Yes, Prabhuji.
So to reach the platform Ananya Bhakti, now we have to do sadhana bhakti, some tapasya and deity worship, and engage in Krishna consciousness.
Shall we move to the next slide, please?
See, somebody says to Prabhupada, can you show me God? Prabhupada says, it's not a 1 minute affair. You have to follow the rules and regulations. Just like you want to become a doctor, you just don't just run around. Exam, you have to give practicals, you have to do internship. There are so many things they say, and we do that. So then we become a doctor. Not that I went to the canteen and I had a discussion with the professor and I understood. No, that's not the way. Similarly, if you want to understand Krishna, there has to be, just like there has to be a process. Yes.
And then Srila Prabhupada quotes in the purport from various scriptures to explain and prove Krishna's transcendental form and his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he quotes extensively from Gopala Tapani Upanishad, where it is explained, Satchit Ananda Rupaya Krishnaya Klishtakarine Namo Vedanta Vedyaya Gurave Buddhi Sakshine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him, because understanding him means understanding the Vedas, and he is therefore the supreme spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada also quotes two more verses. Krishno vai paramam daivatam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And he also quotes from Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. And then he also quotes 3 verses from Bhagavad Gita, starting with 7:7. Matta parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, as the pearls are strung on a thread. And 10th chapter, 2nd verse. Name vidhu suragana prabhavam na maharshaya aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. Neither the host of the demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of all the demigods and the sages. And yeah, this is the last set of verses quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. The verse from the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna is acknowledging Krishna's position after the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavam Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshir Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. And last verse, and this has been quoted by Srila Prabhupada extensively in the purports of this chapter, to prove Krishna's supreme position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ete chamsha kala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mrudayanti Yuge Yuge. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. All the above mentioned, all the incarnations mentioned by Sutta Goswami before this verse, they are either the plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on the planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheist. The Lord incarnates to protect the theist. So, yes, Prabhuji.
Now the extensive quotations from the scripture, Bhagavad Gita already says, Vedeshu sarve aham vedya. So we are expecting, when it is said all the Vedas take you to Krishna, either it is Upanishads or Puranas or any Vedic literature takes us to Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
And now we come to the last verse of this particular chapter 11, text 55. Even for this, there is a 4-5 pages long purport. So we'll have around 5 slides on this. Text 55. Mat karma krun mat paramo mad bhakta sangha varjitaha nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yah samam eti pandava. My dear Arjun, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains this verse as the essence of Bhagavad Gita and also as the formula to attain Krishna and Krishna Loka. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all personalities of Godhead on the Krishna Loka planet in the spiritual sky and be intimately connected with the supreme personality Krishna must take this formula as stated by the Supreme himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a book directed to the conditioned souls who are engaged in the material world with the purpose. And then he starts explaining the meaning of the words used by Lord Krishna in the verse, starting with Mat Karma Krut, which means to work for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes, as far as the work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna conscious activities. Work without attachment to the results with the mentality of Krishna as the proprietor. And Srila Prabhupada further explains, Krishna karma, it implies no work should be done except in relationship to Krishna. And then he gives example of both types of people. Either somebody may be very materially successful, very rich, like a businessman. He can offer Lakshmi money to Krishna for constructing of the big temple for Krishna. And even if one doesn't have that capacity, one can at least accept the remnants of Krishna's offering as prasadam. And Srila Prabhupada quotes example that even a poorest man can perform devotional service. Example, through simple processes of devotional service like cleaning the temple, cultivating a garden on a small piece of land to grow flowers and tulsi plants for Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada quotes in this reference 9:26 of Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. So Mat Karma Krut, either type of person who is either rich, has all the means in the material world, or a person is very simple, not so well-to-do, still both, all of these type of people can engage in Mat Karma Krut, working for Krishna and transferring all their energies entirely in Krishna conscious activities. Yes, Prabhuji.
As far as one should, as far as possible, we should transfer all the energies to please Krishna. It's a very nice word. Doing work, but what is the motivation work is that Krishna is pleased. So there are different ways, prana, artha, dhiya, vacha, whatever is possible. Prana, the best is to give our life, but that's not possible. Artha, we can give money. Money sweeter than honey. It's not easy to sacrifice. Dhiya, our intelligence, and then vacha, our words. Okay, whatever is possible, we should offer for Krishna's pleasure. At least we can tell people chant Hare Krishna. Intelligence we can use to, convince people to surrender to Krishna. Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji. And in concluding his discussion on this first word of the purport, Mat Karma Krit, Srila Prabhupada quotes from the famous verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchate. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. Then Srila Prabhupada goes to the next word used by Krishna, Mat Paramaha, which means the word Mat Paramaha refers to one who considers the association of Krishna in his supreme abode to be the highest perfection of life. Such a person does not wish to be elevated to the higher planets, such as the moon or sun, or heavenly planets, or even to the highest planet of this universe, Brahmaloka. He has no attraction for that. He is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky. And even in the spiritual sky, he is not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahma Jyoti effulgence, for he wants to enter the highest planet, spiritual planet, namely Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. He has full knowledge of that planet, and therefore he is not interested in any other planet.
Association of Krishna as the supreme abode to be the highest perfection. That's the platform of our pure devotee. Amazing platform. So just by chanting Hare Krishna, you can come to this level of consciousness. We should think about that. The Hare Krishna mantra is so powerful. Now, what process can you bring you to that? By your gymnastic exercises, you will not come to the realization. Association of Krishna supreme abode, the highest perfection of life. Not by pranayama exercises, not by yogasanas, by your yagnas. It leads to, in Kali Yuga, submissively attentively chant the holy name of the Lord. Conscience will get purified, and then electrified, spiritualized, and then it will come to the platform that the Bhakti Shakti will manifest full. He just wants association of Krishna in the supreme abode. That means he has received the mercy. When you close your eyes every day and sleep, correct? You have a wish. Everybody has some wish. What is the wish? Some material desire. I want that girl. Somehow I want that girl. Now I want that car. Somehow I want that car. Correct? But devotee says, Krishna, I want your association. That's all. Anna, I cannot propose it. This life, why I am not seeing Krishna? Why Krishna I am not seeing? I have to see Krishna. Anna, and he develops this beautiful consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, anything else you want to say, Prabhuji, on this?
No.
Next word, Srila Prabhupada explains from the verse Mad Bhaktaha. As indicated by the word Mad Bhaktaha, he fully engages in devotional service, specifically in the 9 processes of devotional engagement, namely hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering prayers, carrying out the orders of the Lord, making friends with him, and surrendering everything to him. One can engage in all 9 processes of devotional service, or 8 or 7, or at least in 1, and that will surely make one perfect. And then 4th word of the verse, Srila Prabhupada explains, Sangha Varjitaha. One should disassociate himself from the persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheistic persons against Krishna, but so also are those who are attracted to the fruitive activities and mental speculation. And to support this point of Sangha Varjitaha, Srila Prabhupada quotes again from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:11. Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulena Krishnanu Shilam Bhaktir Uttama. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami clearly states that if anyone wants to execute unalloyed devotional service, he must be freed from all kinds of material contamination. One should think of Krishna and act for Krishna favorably, not unfavorably. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Anukulena. Anukulena means favorably. Are doing devotionalness. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji, continue.
So second last slide for discussion today. Srila Prabhupada explains the concluding words used by Krishna in the verse Nirvaira Sarva Bhuteshu. A devotee of Krishna, Nirvaira means he is non-enemical. He is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy. Nirvairaha. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all problems of life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system of Krishna consciousness into human society. And Srila Prabhupada quotes in the purport various examples of the devotees who risked their lives for spreading of God consciousness, including Lord Jesus Christ, Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakur, etc. And then Srila Prabhupada writes subsequently on such persons, such devotees of the Lord. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body. So Srila Prabhupada is glorifying such Nirvaira Sarvabhuteshu devotees. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, continue.
So that was the last explanation on the words used by Krishna in this verse. Now Srila Prabhupada concludes the purport by giving the summary as well as conclusion of this chapter, chapter number 11. In summary, the universal form of Krishna, which is a temporary manifestation, and the form of time, the Kala Rupa, which devours everything, and even the form of Vishnu, four-handed, have all been exhibited by Krishna. Thus, Krishna is the origin of all these manifestations. It is not that Krishna is a manifestation of the original Vishwarupa or Vishnu. Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important but the original form, two-handed Shama Sundar. In Brahma Samhita, it is stated that those who are attached to the Shama Sundar form of Krishna in love and devotion can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. One should understand, therefore, that the purport of this 11th chapter is that the form of Krishna is essential and supreme. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you announced the home assignment.
Okay, so there is a home assignment for this. Janaki Mataji will also be posting on the WhatsApp group. Present points in your own words relevant for personal application from the formula of Krishna consciousness given in Bhagavad Gita 11:55. Give specific reference to the verse and Srila Prabhupada's purports in your response. Yes.
Relevant personal application. 55. This verse that you studied. Okay.
Yes. Prabhuji, one question can I ask in 1 minute remaining? Are these last two verses and the purports, Srila Prabhupada is Krishna first and then Srila Prabhupada also giving prelude to the next chapter, which is on the pure devotional service?
Yeah, there's always a connection. No? Always a connection. See, there is not that Krishna said, now Arjuna, chapter 12. No, there is no statement like that. No.
Yes.
Vedas are divided. So this there has to be a connection there.
So this is around third biggest chapter in Bhagavad Gita. So it took quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
Any announcements, Prabhuji, from your side?
Announcement, the next week, all of us are traveling. You're traveling?
For
the Gaur Purnima on 18th. So I will be leaving on Saturday. I will be traveling. What is your position? Prabhu?
Prabhuji, here celebration will be on 18th itself. So I will be available, but up to you, Prabhuji.
No, you will be, but when are you traveling?
Around month end, Prabhuji. Targeting 2nd, I will be in Mangalore.
Oh, you're not coming for
I am not.
Vrindavan?
Vrindavan, Prabhuji, so many leaves will be difficult, Prabhuji.
Okay, done. Good. Now, so next week, I do not know because those, how many of you are traveling by train? Because that anybody traveling by train would have left. Those who are others are all going on Monday by flight. Yes, anybody who's traveling. Adesh, you're traveling by train?
Yes, Prabhuji, me and Adish are traveling by train.
So you will be in the train, no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Saturday night. So we don't have next week, Prabhuji. Huh? And then next to that, yes, we can have.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I think it is actually, you know, what we can need to do is that you see this division. Anyway, now you're coming. We will learn from what do you call that?
Atul Krishna.
Yeah. So you see that as far as I can understand, you see that just like this chapter is there, chapter we are doing 11th chapter, no?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
So we are supposed to do one part in one time. So can you see that?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Just like 12th chapter is actually one sitting. Can you see this?
Yes.
That's how we have to. We will now, anyway, you're coming, we will learn from him. How do we do that? Yes. Anna? So we will fine tune our skills and see that how we can accomplish this. Then this comes in, you know, number of particular sessions that they say. Exactly. They have divided the whole thing like this, you know, correct? So
yes,
we'll have to learn from him. How do we achieve this kind of moment? Yes. Okay.
There is one question, Prabhuji, by Usha Mataji. Just wanted to know what is expected in an answer asking for personal application from a specific verse or purport.
Personal mean how they want to apply that verse in their personal life. No, it's easy, no?
Usha Mataji, you want to unmute yourself?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Even in our Bhakti Vriksha group, we've been pondering over this question, whether it is to be taken just from the purport or we have to use that verse and purport and apply it to our life personally. So does the explanation of it come directly from the purport, or do we give instances from our life to explain that purport? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Chaitanya Prabhu.
What I understood, Prabhuji, is we give the explanation from the verse purport plus give examples wherever the personal application is mentioned. So you can give examples, Mataji, from your personal life, how you would apply that principle mentioned in that particular verse or purport along with your personal life examples.
Okay, yes, it's very clear now. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
There is also a question by Santosh Prabhuji on checking the progress on Guru Ashray because His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj is back in Malyalam.
No, that's okay. I think Sujesh Prabhu, only out of 100 people who applied, only 15 passed. I'll tell Sujesh Prabhu to put it up, those who have passed, and start. He's the person. Subudhi Prabhu you can contact. Okay, he is taking care of the shelter. We are waiting for, not that he's like a machine. We want him to be healthy and active before we load him with the karma. More disciples. He is merciful, but at the same time, we want to little hold for some time. Because I can do it. Actually, he has authorized to personally accept on his behalf. I don't want to do that. Let him. If needed, I will do that. But let him personally accept. That will be nice. Okay. My targeting is something like Kartik. So what is the month now? March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah. I'm targeting Kartik for Diksha. So that's okay.
So by May we have to take shelter then. Diksha and Kartik means by May we have to take shelter then. 6 months.
Yes. Come to the shelter platform. Okay? Convince Subudhi. You all have to convince him. But I have a personal relation, so I can't say yes or no. He says strictly yes or no. Okay, Prabhuji, we break now.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.